Dr. Lisa Carter knelt beside the tide pool, carefully placing a small sea urchin into her collection container. The morning sun cast long shadows across the rocky beach near San Diego, and the gentle sound of waves provided a peaceful backdrop to her work. She had been studying marine life here for 3 years, but today felt different somehow. The ocean seemed unusually calm, and even the seagulls were quieter than normal. Lisa tucked a strand of brown hair behind her ear and checked her watch. 9:30 in the morning. She had at least 2 more hours before the tide would make her work impossible. Her research on coastal ecosystems was important, but she knew most people would find it boring. That was fine with her. She preferred the quiet company of sea creatures to the noise of the city. A strange shadow passed over the beach. Lisa looked up, expecting to see a cloud blocking the sun. Instead, she saw something that made her drop her collection container. A massive metallic object shaped like a teardrop was descending slowly from the sky. It was easily the size of a football stadium, and it made no sound at all. Lisa scrambled to her feet, her heart racing. The object landed on the wide beach about 200 yards away from her, sending up a small cloud of sand. She could see strange markings on its surface, patterns that seemed to shift and move in the sunlight. This was definitely not human technology. For a moment, Lisa stood frozen, unsure whether to run or hide. Then her scientific curiosity took over. She pulled out her phone and started recording, her hands shaking slightly as she tried to keep the camera steady. Whatever this was, it was the discovery of a lifetime. A section of the object's surface began to glow with soft blue light. Lisa watched in fascination as an opening appeared where none had been before. The entrance was perfectly circular, about 10 feet across. Strange mist drifted out from the opening, and Lisa could smell something like ozone in the air. 3 figures emerged from the craft. They walked upright like humans, but that was where the similarity ended. The first was tall and thin, with pale blue skin and 4 arms. Its head was elongated, and Lisa could see large, dark eyes that seemed to take in everything around them. The second figure was shorter and more muscular, covered in what looked like scales that changed color as it moved. The third was the strangest of all, appearing to be made of living crystal that reflected the morning light in rainbow patterns. Lisa realized she was witnessing first contact with alien life. Her phone was still recording, but she wondered if anyone would believe what they were seeing. The 3 aliens moved with careful, deliberate steps across the sand toward her. The tall blue one raised one of its 4 hands in what might have been a peaceful gesture. When it spoke, its voice came from a small device attached to its chest rather than its mouth. The words were in perfect English, though they sounded slightly mechanical. "Greetings, inhabitant of this world. We are representatives of the Galactic Council. We come seeking dialogue with your species leaders and military commanders." Lisa blinked, trying to process what she was hearing. "You speak English," she said, her voice barely above a whisper. "Our translation systems have been monitoring your planet's communications for some time," the alien replied. "We have learned your languages to facilitate peaceful contact. Are you a leader of your people?" Lisa almost laughed. "No, I'm just a marine biologist. I study sea life." She gestured toward her overturned collection container and the scattered research equipment on the beach. The 3 aliens exchanged what might have been looks of confusion. The scaled one stepped forward and spoke through its own translation device. "You are not a warrior or government official?" "No, I'm a civilian. A scientist." Lisa was starting to feel more confident now. These beings seemed peaceful, even if they were asking odd questions. "I can contact the authorities if you want to speak with government officials." The crystalline being made a sound like wind chimes. Its translator converted this into words. "This individual is not relevant to our mission. We require contact with your planet's military leaders and warrior class." Lisa felt a spark of irritation. "I'm a human being and a citizen of this planet. I think that makes me pretty relevant." The blue alien tilted its elongated head. "Forgive our confusion. On our worlds, only military personnel would be authorized to make contact with unknown species. Civilians would flee or hide." "Well, I'm not fleeing," Lisa said, crossing her arms. "And I'm not hiding, I'm talking to you." Before the aliens could respond, Lisa heard the sound of approaching vehicles. She turned to see several cars pulling into the beach parking lot. Word was spreading fast. Within minutes, a small crowd had gathered at the edge of the beach. Lisa could see people pointing at the alien ship and taking pictures with their phones. Among the crowd, she noticed Jake Murphy, a construction worker she recognized from the local coffee shop. He was a big man with calloused hands and a friendly smile. Next to him stood Amanda Brooks, a teacher from the elementary school where Lisa sometimes gave presentations about marine life. There was also Roy Henderson, an older man who had retired from his job at the local auto repair shop. The aliens noticed the gathering crowd and seemed disturbed by it. The blue one spoke urgently to its companions in a language that sounded like musical tones. Then it turned back to Lisa. Why do your people approach instead of maintaining safe distance? Are these warriors coming to assess our threat level? Lisa looked back at the crowd, which was growing larger by the minute. More cars were arriving, and she could see people getting out with cameras, coolers, and folding chairs. It looked more like a community gathering than a military response. Those aren't warriors, she explained. They're just curious people. Construction workers, teachers, shop owners, retirees. Regular folks who want to see what's happening. The scaled alien made a hissing sound. Impossible. Civilian populations. Do not approach unknown military assets. They seek shelter and await protection from their warrior class. Maybe that's how it works on your worlds, Lisa said. But humans are different. When something interesting happens, we want to see it for ourselves. She waved toward the crowd, and several people waved back. Jake Murphy called out, "Everything okay down there, Doc?" "We're fine," Lisa called back. "Just having a conversation." The crystalline being chimed urgently. "This behavior is unprecedented in our galactic experience. Civilian populations that approach unknown military technology are either primitive or possess hidden warrior capabilities." Lisa raised an eyebrow. "We're not primitive. We have cities, technology, space travel. We've been to our moon and sent probes to other planets." "Then your civilians must be trained warriors," the blue alien concluded. "This is the only logical explanation for their fearless approach." "No, they're just normal people," Lisa insisted. "Humans are naturally curious. We explore things instead of running away from them." The aliens exchanged more musical tones, clearly confused by this information. The scaled one spoke again. "We must request formal contact with your planet's official military leadership. This civilian contact protocol is not covered in our diplomatic procedures." Lisa pulled out her phone. "I can call the government if you want, but it's going to take them a while to get here. And honestly, I'm probably more qualified to talk to you than most politicians. I have a doctorate in marine biology, and I've published papers on interspecies, communication patterns in marine ecosystems." The blue alien's large eyes blinked slowly. "You study communication between different species?" "Among sea creatures, yes. But the principles might apply here too." Lisa smiled. "So, what brings you to Earth? And more importantly, are you here as friends, or should we be worried?" The three aliens looked at each other again. It was clear that this first contact was not going according to their plans. The growing crowd of curious humans on the beach only added to their confusion. The blue alien finally spoke. "We represent the Galactic Council. We are here to evaluate your species for potential membership in our organization. However, your behavior patterns do not match our previous experience with planetary civilizations." Lisa nodded thoughtfully. "Well, welcome to Earth. I think you're going to find that humans are full of surprises." 3 days had passed since the aliens landed on the beach. The world had changed completely in those 72 hours. News crews from every major network surrounded the landing site, and the small coastal town of Ocean View had become the center of global attention. The aliens had agreed to stay and wait for official government representatives, but they seemed increasingly uncomfortable with the growing crowd of humans. Lisa Carter found herself in an impossible position. She had become the unofficial translator between the aliens and humanity. Even though she had no training in diplomacy, the aliens, who called themselves Ambassador Zexthul, Commander Kreenox, and Philosopher Veltar, insisted on speaking only with her until proper military officials arrived. The problem was that the proper military officials were taking their time. The Pentagon wanted to send a full team of specialists, the State Department wanted to control the messaging, and the United Nations wanted to be involved in everything. Meanwhile, Lisa was stuck answering questions from 3 confused aliens who could not understand why regular humans kept showing up with lawn chairs and picnic baskets. On the morning of the 4th day, everything changed. Lisa was sitting in a temporary shelter that had been set up near the alien ship. Across from her sat Secretary of State Helen Rodriguez, who had finally arrived from Washington with a team of advisors. The 3 aliens sat in chairs that had been specially made to accommodate their different body types. "Let me be clear about why we are here," Ambassador Zexthol said through his translator device. His forearms moved in what Lisa had learned was a gesture of formal declaration. "We do not represent the Galactic Council as we initially stated. We represent the Krextar Empire." Helen Rodriguez leaned forward. "What does that mean exactly?" Commander Kreenox, the scaled alien, answered with a voice that sounded like grinding stones. "It means we are here to offer your species a choice. You may surrender your planet peacefully and become part of our empire, or you may resist and be destroyed completely." The tent fell silent. Lisa felt her stomach drop. She looked at Helen Rodriguez, whose face had gone pale. "You're invading us," Helen said quietly. "We prefer to think of it as expansion." Philosopher Veltar chimed in, his crystal voice. "The Krextar Empire has studied your world for months. We know your military capabilities. You have approximately 2.1 million active military personnel across your entire planet. Our invasion fleet contains 1 billion trained warriors." Lisa stood up so quickly that her chair fell over. "You've been lying to us this entire time." "We have been gathering intelligence," Zexthol replied calmly. "Your species shows promise, but you are technologically inferior. Surrender will save billions of lives." Outside the tent, Lisa could hear the normal sounds of the crowd that had been growing for days. Families were having picnics while their children played. Vendors were selling food and souvenirs. Local musicians were playing songs. It looked like a festival, not a military situation. "How long do we have to decide?" Helen asked. "You have 1 hour," Commander Kreenox said. "If you do not agree to surrender, we will demonstrate our superior firepower on your civilian population." "You will not harm civilians," Helen said firmly. "Your civilians are irrelevant," Kreenox replied. "They are not warriors. They pose no threat to us." Lisa looked out through the tent flap at the crowd. She could see Jake Murphy setting up a barbecue grill near his truck. Amanda Brooks was organizing a group of children for some kind of game. Roy Henderson was showing a group of teenagers how to fix a broken radio. Normal people doing normal things. "You don't understand," Lisa said slowly. "Those people out there aren't just going to run away if you attack them." "Of course they will," Veltar chimed. "All civilian populations flee when faced with military action. This is universal behavior across the galaxy." "Not here," Lisa said. "Not with humans." The aliens exchanged their musical tones. Lisa was beginning to recognize the sound as confusion or disagreement. "Your hour begins now," Zexthol announced. "Helen." Rodriguez immediately began making phone calls. She spoke rapidly to someone at the Pentagon, then to the president, then to military commanders around the world. Lisa listened to one side of urgent conversations about evacuation procedures and military response options. But Lisa was not thinking about military responses. She was thinking about the crowd outside. 50,000 people had gathered around the landing site over the past 3 days. They came from all over the country and even from other countries. They were not soldiers or government officials. They were mechanics and teachers and farmers and store clerks and retirees and students. "I need to warn them," Lisa said. "The military will handle evacuations," Helen replied, still on her phone. "No, you don't understand," Lisa said. "I need to warn the aliens." Helen looked at her like she was crazy. "Warn them about what?" "About what's going to happen when they attack that crowd." Before Helen could respond, Lisa walked out of the tent. The aliens followed her, curious about her behavior. She stood at the edge of the crowd and cupped her hands around her mouth. "Everyone listen up," she called out. I need to tell you something important. The crowd gradually quieted. Thousands of faces turned toward her. Lisa took a deep breath. These aliens are not here for peace talks, she announced. They're here to invade Earth. They're going to attack this crowd in about 50 minutes to show us how powerful they are. The crowd erupted in noise. Some people shouted questions, others started moving toward their cars. But Lisa noticed that most people were not running away. Instead, they were moving closer together, forming groups, talking quickly among themselves. Jake. Murphy stepped forward. Doc, are you serious about this? Dead serious, Jake. Well then, Jake said, looking around at the crowd. I guess we better get ready. Lisa watched in amazement as the crowd began to organize itself. Jake Murphy started talking to a group of construction workers who had been camping at the site. They began pulling tools out of their trucks. Amanda Brooks gathered the teachers and parents, and they started moving the children to safer areas while discussing how to create defensive positions. Roy Henderson found the military veterans in the crowd. There were dozens of them, and they immediately began assessing the situation with professional eyes. Within minutes, they had identified the best defensive positions and started organizing people into groups. This is impossible, Commander Kreenock said, watching the crowd. They should be fleeing in terror. I told you, Lisa said. Humans are different. A woman named Patricia Wong, who was a nurse at the local hospital, approached Lisa. Dr. Carter, I've been thinking about this. These aliens have been studying us for months, right? They know our military capabilities, but do they know about the rest of us? Lisa looked at Patricia, then at the crowd that was rapidly transforming from a peaceful gathering into something that looked surprisingly organized. What do you mean? I mean, they counted our soldiers. But did they count our carpenters and electricians and mechanics and computer programmers and hunters and farmers and everyone else who knows how to fix things, build things, and solve problems? Lisa felt a chill run down her spine. She looked at the aliens who were watching the crowd with growing concern. No, she said quietly. I don't think they did. The hour was almost up. In the distance, Lisa could see military vehicles finally approaching. But she had a feeling that the real show was about to begin right here, with 50,000 ordinary people who were about to prove that there was nothing ordinary about them. Commander, Kreenock raised his weapon toward the crowd. Demonstration will begin now. Wait, Lisa called out. Before you do this, I want you to understand something. You're not attacking civilians, you're attacking Americans, and we don't surrender. The aliens opened fire. The first blast from Commander Kreenock's weapon hit the sand near Jake Murphy's barbecue grill. The energy beam created a crater 3 feet wide and sent sand flying everywhere. People screamed and dove for cover, but they did not run away. Instead, something incredible happened. Jake Murphy grabbed his propane tank and hurled it toward the alien ship. Everyone with gas tanks, throw them at the ship, he shouted. We need to create a barrier. Within seconds, dozens of propane tanks, gas cans, and even car batteries were flying through the air. Most missed their target, but the message was clear. These humans were fighting back. Amanda Brooks had moved all the children behind a line of parked cars, but she was not hiding with them. Instead, she was organizing the adults like she organized her classroom. Group 1, collect anything that can be used as weapons. Group 2, find materials to build cover. Group 3, help the injured. Lisa Carter watched in amazement as the crowd transformed. These were not soldiers, but they were acting like a military unit. People were following orders, working together, and fighting back against superior firepower. Roy Henderson had found a toolbox in someone's truck. He was examining pieces of alien technology that had fallen from their ship during the landing 3 days ago. These power cells, he called out to Jake Murphy. They work just like car batteries, but stronger. If we can short-circuit them, we might be able to damage their systems. More alien warriors were emerging from the ship now. Lisa counted at least 50 of them, all carrying weapons that looked far more advanced than anything humans had. They formed a line and began advancing toward the crowd, firing energy beams as they walked. But the humans were not standing still. Patricia Wong, the nurse, had set up a medical station behind an overturned food truck. She was treating wounded people. But she was also doing something else. She was studying the alien weapons and their effects on human tissue. The energy beams cause burns, but they're not immediately fatal. She called out to the crowd. If someone gets hit, get them to me quickly. These wounds can be treated. Carl Davis, a plumber from Los Angeles, had been working on the beach's public restrooms when the aliens landed. Now he was using his knowledge of pipe systems to create makeshift weapons. He had connected several pieces of PVC pipe together and was using compressed air from a truck's brake system to launch rocks at the aliens. It's just like fixing a backed-up drain, he explained to a group of people helping him. You find the pressure point and you use it. Alex Chen, a software developer from San Francisco, had brought his laptop to the beach to work while enjoying the historic first contact. Now he was using it for something completely different. He had connected to the beach's public Wi-Fi system and was trying to hack into the alien ship's communications. Their technology is different, but the basic principles are the same, he muttered, typing rapidly. Every system has vulnerabilities if you know where to look. The aliens were clearly surprised by the human response. Commander Kreenox spoke urgently into his communication device. General Mordek, the humans are not behaving as predicted. They are not fleeing. They are attacking us. Through the translation system, Lisa could hear the response from the alien ship. Impossible. Your report said they were civilians. Civilians do not attack trained warriors. These civilians are different, Kreenox replied. They are using improvised weapons and coordinated tactics. We are taking casualties. Lisa looked around the battlefield. The aliens were right. They were taking casualties. Jake Murphy's improvised explosives were damaging alien equipment. Roy Henderson had figured out how to overload alien power cells, creating small explosions that disabled their weapons. Amanda Brooks had organized a group of people who were using mirrors and car windows to reflect sunlight into the aliens' large eyes, temporarily blinding them. But the most amazing thing was how naturally the humans worked together. Maria Santos, who owned a restaurant in the nearby town, had turned her food truck into a supply depot. She was distributing water, food, and materials to anyone who needed them. Ben Foster, a librarian from Maine who had driven across the country to see the aliens, was using his research skills to analyze alien tactics and predict their next moves. Even 12-year-old Katie Lane was contributing. She had been playing video games on her tablet when the attack started, and now she was using her gaming experience to predict alien movement patterns. They always attack from the left first, she told the adults around her, just like in my strategy games. The battle had been going on for 2 hours when something changed. The aliens stopped advancing and formed a defensive circle around their ship. They were no longer attacking. They were trying to protect themselves. Lisa realized that the humans had gained the upper hand. 50,000 ordinary people with no military training and only improvised weapons had forced a group of trained alien warriors into a defensive position. Commander Kreenox's voice came over the translation system again. General Mordek, we need immediate reinforcements. These humans are not civilians. They must be a warrior species pretending to be non-combatants. Explain, came the reply from the ship. They have tactical knowledge, weapons expertise, medical skills, technological capabilities, and perfect coordination. No civilian population could mount this kind of resistance. Lisa looked around at her fellow humans. Jake Murphy was indeed showing tactical knowledge, but he had learned it from years of coordinating construction projects. Roy Henderson did have weapons expertise, but it came from decades of fixing engines and understanding how mechanical systems worked. Patricia Wong had medical skills because she was a nurse. Alex Chen had technological capabilities because he was a programmer. They were not warriors pretending to be civilians. They were civilians who turned out to have warrior capabilities when they needed them. Dr. Susan Miller, a psychology professor from a nearby university, crawled over to where Lisa was taking cover behind a concrete barrier. Dr. Carter, I've been observing the aliens' behavior. They're genuinely confused by us. What do you mean? I think their species, and probably most species in the galaxy, have a clear biological distinction between warriors and non-warriors. They literally cannot understand how our non-warriors can fight effectively. Lisa thought about this. It made sense. The aliens kept expecting humans to behave like prey animals, running away when threatened. Instead, humans were behaving like every animal in Earth's history when threatened. They were fighting back with everything they had. A new voice came over the alien communication system. This one sounded different, more authoritative. "This is Fleet Admiral Zorthak of the Krekstar Invasion Fleet. Commander Kreenox, report your status." "Sir, we have engaged what we believe to be a civilian population. However, they are fighting with military-level effectiveness. We have lost 40% of our warriors. The humans have organized into tactical units and are using improvised weapons with deadly efficiency." There was a long pause. Then the Admiral spoke again. "Are you telling me that untrained human civilians have defeated trained Krekstar warriors?" "Sir, I am beginning to suspect that humans do not have untrained civilians. Every human we have encountered appears to possess combat capabilities." Lisa smiled grimly. The aliens were beginning to understand something important about humanity. The question was whether they would learn it in time to avoid making an even bigger mistake. In the distance, she could see military helicopters finally approaching, but she had a feeling that by the time the actual military arrived, this particular battle would already be over. 50,000 humans had proven a point that would change how the galaxy saw their species forever. The only question now was whether the aliens would be smart enough to listen. Fleet Admiral Zorthak stared at the reports coming in from across the galaxy. Each one told the same impossible story. Human civilians everywhere were proving to be as dangerous as trained soldiers. The Admiral's scaled hands shook as he read the latest intelligence briefing. On the trading station Kelnara, 3 human merchants had somehow reverse-engineered Quellian technology within hours of seeing it. They were now selling improved versions of Quellian devices to other species. The Quellian hive was demanding to know how untrained humans could understand their most advanced systems so quickly. In the Thornax Collective's territory, a group of human refugees had been quietly mapping military installations while pretending to be helpless victims of war. The Thornax discovered that these refugees knew more about their own defenses than most of their officers did. On Earth, the situation was getting worse by the hour. Reports were flooding in from every continent. In London, a group of soccer fans had coordinated like a military unit to disable alien scouts who had landed in Hyde Park. They used tactics learned from organizing stadium crowds and applied them to warfare. In Tokyo, office workers had turned their corporate buildings into fortress-like structures. They used their knowledge of building management and supply chains to create defensive networks that impressed even experienced military observers. In São Paulo, street vendors had organized an intelligence network that covered the entire city. They were tracking alien movements with the same skills they used to track customers and competitors in the marketplace. Admiral Zorthak contacted his science officer. "Dr. Vexian, I need you to explain what we are seeing. How can civilian populations fight like trained warriors?" Dr. Vexian, a tall creature with multiple eyes and tentacle-like arms, pulled up holographic displays showing human behavior patterns. "Admiral, I believe we have made a fundamental error in our understanding of human society." "Explain." "Every species we have encountered in the galaxy has clear biological castes. The Quellians have worker drones and warrior drones. The Thornax have builder-class and fighter-class individuals. The Valerians have 4 distinct genetic lines, each specialized for different functions. Yes, this is normal galactic evolution. But humans are different. They appear to be generalists. Every individual human possesses multiple skill sets that can be adapted for different purposes." Admiral Zorthak studied the displays. "Are you saying they do not have a warrior caste?" "I am saying they do not need a warrior caste. Every human appears to be capable of becoming a warrior when necessary." On Earth, Dr. Lisa Carter was learning the same lesson from a different perspective. She was now in the temporary command center that had been set up in the Ocean View Community Center. Military officers from around the world had finally arrived, but they were discovering that the situation was already under control. General Patricia Hammond, the top military advisor to the president, was studying reports from the beach battle. "Dr. Carter, I need to understand what happened here. How did 50,000 civilians defeat trained alien warriors?" Lisa looked at the report spread across the table. I don't think they were acting as civilians, General. I think they were acting as humans. What's the difference? Watch this. Lisa pulled up security camera footage from the battle. See Jake Murphy there, organizing those construction workers? He's using the same skills he uses to coordinate building projects. He's not thinking like a soldier. He's thinking like a foreman managing a dangerous job site. She pointed to another part of the screen. And Amanda Brooks organizing those people? She's using classroom management techniques. She knows how to get groups of people to work together toward a common goal. General Hammond studied the footage. But they're using military tactics. No, they're using human tactics. Roy Henderson figured out how to disable alien technology because he understands how machines work. Patricia Wong set up medical support because she's a nurse. Alex Chen hacked their systems because he's a programmer. But the coordination, the way they work together, general humans have been working together to solve problems for thousands of years. We built cities, crossed oceans, went to the moon. When we're threatened, we use those same cooperation skills for fighting. General Hammond was quiet for a long moment. So you're saying that every human is potentially a soldier? I'm saying that every human is potentially whatever they need to be. Meanwhile, around the world, more examples were proving Lisa's point. In Australia, a group of farmers had captured an alien reconnaissance team using knowledge gained from catching wild animals on their land. In Canada, park rangers were tracking alien scouts through the wilderness with skills learned from decades of search and rescue operations. In Germany, factory workers had analyzed alien technology and were already developing countermeasures using their understanding of industrial processes. In India, software engineers were creating communication networks that allowed humans to coordinate across vast distances. The most surprising report came from a small town in Iowa. A group of high school students had captured an alien warrior using tactics learned from playing paintball in video games. Their teacher, who coached the school's debate team, had then successfully interrogated the prisoner using techniques learned from managing teenagers. Back in space, Admiral Zorthak was receiving increasingly desperate reports from his commanders. Sir, the human military has not even fully mobilized yet. These are still civilian populations we are fighting. How many casualties have we taken? Across all engagements, we have lost over 60% of our advance forces. The humans have taken minimal casualties and appear to be learning our tactics faster than we can adapt to theirs. Dr. Vexian spoke up. Admiral, I have been analyzing human evolutionary history. I believe I understand what we are facing. Tell me, humans evolved on a planet with extreme environmental challenges and multiple predator species. Unlike other worlds where species developed specialization for survival, Earth required its intelligent species to remain generalists. Every human had to be able to fight, build, heal, create, and adapt to survive. So they are all warriors? No, Admiral, they are all survivors. Warriors, builders, healers, creators, and problem solvers all in one. They do not think in terms of castes or specializations. They think in terms of doing whatever needs to be done. Admiral Zorthak felt a chill run through his body. Are you telling me that Earth's entire population is essentially a military force? I am telling you that Earth's population is something we have never encountered before. They are 8 billion individuals who can adapt to any role required by their circumstances. On Earth, Lisa Carter was coming to the same conclusion. She was speaking with Dr. Susan Miller, the psychology professor who had been studying the aliens during the battle. Dr. Miller, I think I understand why the aliens are so confused by us. What do you mean? They keep expecting us to behave like other species in the galaxy. They think we should have warriors who fight and civilians who run away. But that's not how humans work. How do we work? We're all just people who do whatever needs to be done. When someone is hurt, we help them. When something is broken, we fix it. When someone threatens us, we fight back. We don't think about whether we're qualified or authorized. We just do what needs to be done. Dr. Miller nodded slowly. So, when they attacked what they thought were helpless civilians, they attacked 8 billion people who have spent their entire evolutionary history learning to adapt and survive. They didn't attack our military, they attacked our species. In space, Admiral Zorthak was reaching the same terrifying conclusion. The Krextar Empire had not planned to invade a planet with a traditional military. They had planned to invade a planet where every single inhabitant was potentially as dangerous as a trained soldier. The question now was whether it was too late to avoid the biggest military disaster in galactic history. The massive Krextar fleet hung in space above Earth like a dark cloud. Admiral Zorthak had arrived expecting to find a conquered planet. Instead, his communication systems were filled with reports of defeat after defeat. His advance forces had not just been stopped by human civilians, they had been completely destroyed. On the surface of Earth, Dr. Lisa Carter stood in what had become the most important meeting room in human history. The Ocean View Community Center was now hosting representatives from every major government on Earth. But more importantly, it was hosting the people who had actually won the first battles against the aliens. Jake Murphy sat at the table still, wearing his work clothes, dirt under his fingernails from building defensive positions. Amanda Brooks had chalk dust on her hands from drawing tactical diagrams on blackboards. Roy Henderson smelled like motor oil because he had been working on captured alien technology all night. These were not diplomats or generals, but they were the people who had proven that humans could fight back. Lisa looked out the window at the alien fleet visible in the daylight sky. Admiral Zorthak wants to speak with Earth's military commanders, she announced to the room. But I think he's going to be surprised by who shows up to talk. President Maria Santos nodded. She had flown in from Washington the night before, but she understood that this meeting was not about government protocol. Dr. Carter, you've been our voice since this started. I think you should continue. I'm not a diplomat, Lisa protested. Neither were any of us when this started, Jake Murphy said, but we figured it out. 2 hours later, Lisa found herself on a shuttle heading toward the alien flagship. She was accompanied by a strange mix of people. General Hammond represented the official military. Dr. Miller was there as a scientific advisor, but the rest of the delegation consisted of the civilians who had led the resistance. Jake, Amanda, Roy, Patricia, Alex, Carl, Maria, Ben, and even 12-year-old Katie Lane, whose gaming insights had saved lives during the battle. The alien ship was enormous inside, with corridors wide enough for trucks to drive through. Admiral Zorthak met them in a chamber that could have held a football game. He was larger than the other aliens Lisa had met, with thick armor-like skin and multiple sets of arms. When he spoke, his voice filled the entire room. I am Admiral Zorthak, commander of the Krextar invasion fleet. I have come to speak with Earth's military leadership about terms of surrender. Lisa stepped forward. I'm Dr. Lisa Carter, and these are my colleagues. We're here to discuss terms but not surrender terms. The Admiral's large eyes focused on her. You are not military personnel. No, we're not. Then you have no authority to negotiate. Send me your warriors. Jake Murphy laughed. Admiral, you just spent the last week fighting our warriors. Impossible. My forces engaged civilian populations. Amanda Brooks pulled out her tablet and showed him footage from battles around the world. These are our civilians, Admiral. Teachers, mechanics, farmers, students, shopkeepers. This is what happens when you attack humans. Admiral Zorthak studied the footage with growing confusion. These individuals display military-level tactical knowledge. No, Roy Henderson said. We display human-level problem-solving skills. When you attack us, we solve the problem. Dr. Miller stepped forward. Admiral, your species and most species in the galaxy evolved with specialized castes. You have warriors who fight and civilians who don't. Humans evolved differently. Every human can become a warrior when necessary. This is unprecedented in galactic history. That's because you've never met humans before, Lisa said. Admiral Zorthak contacted his science officer. Dr. Vexian, are you receiving this conversation? Yes, Admiral. The humans are confirming our analysis. They do not distinguish between military and civilian capabilities the way other species do. Alex Chen spoke up. Admiral, may I ask how many warriors your empire has? Our invasion fleet contains 1 billion trained warriors. And how many civilians? Approximately 50 billion across our homeworlds. Patricia Wong smiled. Admiral, Earth has 8 billion humans. According to what we've learned about you, that means Earth has 8 billion potential warriors. Your invasion fleet is outnumbered 8-1. The Admiral was silent for a long moment. You cannot be suggesting that your entire population would fight. That's exactly what we're suggesting, Carl Davis said. You attacked civilians on a beach, and 50,000 people organized themselves into a fighting force in less than an hour. What do you think 8 billion people would do if you invaded our planet? Katie Lane, who had been quiet during the entire meeting, suddenly spoke up. Admiral, in my video games, when you attack someone's home base, all their units automatically become defensive units. It doesn't matter what type they were before. The Admiral looked down at the small human child. Explain. You attacked our home base. That makes everyone here a warrior now, even if they weren't before. That's just how the game works. Ben Foster opened his laptop. Admiral, I've been researching galactic history since we learned about other species. I can't find a single example of a species where the civilian population posed a military threat, because such a species has never existed. Until now, Ben said. Humans are the first species in galactic history where a civilian is just as dangerous as a soldier. Admiral Zorthak spoke quietly with his science officer for several minutes. Finally, he turned back to the humans. What are your terms? Lisa had been thinking about this moment for days. We want full membership in the Galactic Council with equal status to all other species. We want technology sharing agreements. We want trade relationships. And we want a guarantee that no species will ever again attempt to invade or conquer Earth. And in return, we promise not to treat the rest of the galaxy the way you tried to treat us. You are threatening us? Jake Murphy grinned. Admiral, we're not threatening anyone. We're just pointing out that if humans are naturally dangerous as, civilians, you probably don't want to find out what we're like when we're actually trying to be dangerous. Admiral Zorthak was quiet for a long time. Then he spoke to his communication officer. Contact the Galactic Council. Inform them that Earth must be granted immediate membership with full warrior species status. Sir, they will ask for justification. Tell them that humans are the only species in galactic history where there is no distinction between civilian and military capability. Tell them that attacking human civilians is the same as attacking human military forces. Dr. Miller looked curious. What does warrior species status mean? It means that your species is recognized as having unlimited military potential. It grants you special protections under galactic law and gives you equal status with the most powerful civilizations in the galaxy. Even though we don't have faster-than-light travel or energy weapons, Dr. Carter, you have something more valuable than advanced technology. You have 8 billion individuals who can adapt to any threat. That makes humanity the largest potential military force in known space. Lisa looked around at her companions. A construction worker, a teacher, a mechanic, a nurse, a programmer, a plumber, a restaurant owner, a librarian, and a 12-year-old girl. Not one of them had any military training, but together they had convinced a galactic empire to retreat. Admiral, she said, I think this is the beginning of a beautiful friendship. 6 months later, Lisa Carter stood in the Galactic Council chambers on the space station Harmony Prime. She wore a simple blue dress, not a military uniform, because she was still just a marine biologist from Earth. But she was also Earth's first galactic ambassador. The Council recognizes Ambassador Carter, the speaker announced. Lisa stepped up to the podium. Thank you. I want to address something that has been discussed in these chambers recently. Several council members have expressed concern about humanity's military potential. They worry that a species where every civilian is potentially a warrior might be dangerous to galactic peace. She paused and looked around the chamber at representatives from dozens of different species. I want to assure the Council that humans are not a threat to peace. We're a threat to anyone who threatens our peace. We didn't ask to be the only species where civilians fight like soldiers. We just are. But we use that strength to protect, not to conquer. She smiled. We're not warriors because we love war. We're warriors because when threatened, every human becomes a warrior. That's not a bug in our evolution. It's a feature. And it's a feature that will help us protect not just Earth but every peaceful world in this galaxy. The chamber erupted in applause from dozens of different species. Lisa Carter, the marine biologist who had become humanity's voice to the stars, had just redefined what it meant to be strong in a galaxy full of wonders. Outside the station's windows, Earth hung in space like a blue jewel. 8 billion humans lived there, going about their daily lives as teachers and mechanics and farmers and shopkeepers. But the galaxy now knew the truth about those ordinary people. They were the most dangerous civilians in the universe, and that made them the best friends anyone could have.